Good evening and welcome to our fourth Small Business Futures event for 2013. My name is Ron Johnston, Executive Director of the Australian Centre for Innovation at the University of Sydney. Some of you will have seen me as host of this series previously. Tonight I have the big task of taking the place of Jackie Zielinski, CEO of BEC Australia, who is enjoying well-earned leave in Europe. I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which we meet today and pay my respects to their elders past and present. I would also like to extend that respect to other Aboriginal and Torres Strait people who are present. Small Business Futures is a program specifically designed to bring high-profile speakers and experts to the small business community, to you. This program runs every month, same day, same time. And for future topics, you can go to our website, becaustralia.org.au, and follow the Small Business Futures prompts. I would like also to thank our sponsors, the Department of Industry, Innovation, Climate Change, Science, Research and Tertiary Education, and to our host for this evening, the University of Western Sydney. Our format, as in previous times, will be firstly a presentation by our guest speaker, followed by a panel discussion to answer your questions and address the big issues arising out of social media. Tonight, we have an expert on this topic to lead us off. Lara Kilborn, who consults to many small companies on the issues of social media and is Becca's social media manager. Okay, well, let's get started. But remember, we are live and interactive, so please send your questions through by entering them in the chat window of your screen. So Lara, it's over to you.
So tonight I want to look at how you can grow your audience and your level of engagement on social media. Depending on whether you're in social media yourself yet or whether it's still a step you're looking at taking, some of this may be more or less relevant, so bear with me. If you are tweeting or using hashtags for tonight's event and you are reporting on social media, the hashtag for tonight is SmallBizFutures. So we look forward to seeing your tweets coming up. So just a little bit about what we're going to cover this evening. The first thing we want to know about is knowing your audience on social media, because after all, it is all about them, and that's how you're going to get that level of engagement. The next thing we're going to look at is content, because content absolutely is king, and it's about knowing what content is right for you and your business. Then we're going to look at who you should connect with on social media, because social media is very much a two-way street, not a one-way street. So no use having a conversation with yourself and one-way dialogue. It's got to be conversational, and for that to happen, you need to be connected to other people. And then we're going to touch on advertising on social media. I've been running a lot of training courses lately on social media, and for those businesses that have been engaged in social media for a little while, it tends to be a topic that they want to know more about, so we'll touch on that this evening. And of course, as Ron has said, we'll follow that with our Q&A session where we can answer all your questions. So 25 minutes is not a lot of time to talk on this. I'll do my best to squeeze as much information in as I can, and then we'll catch the rest of you with the questions. So to get us started, we want to start with some statistics. So for all the people that like numbers out there, this is for you. And this is just to set the scene and let you know how big the opportunity is with social media in Australia. These statistics are Australia-wide only, so if you are looking to market your business overseas, obviously you need to be taking those statistics into consideration. But for most people that we're dealing with, they're looking at an Australian market, so that's why we've chosen Australian statistics. So these are the figures from April 2013, care of Social Media News. So this is just going to set the scene and show you the potential reach of social media for your business and the audience. So if we're looking at the top couple of platforms, Facebook is by far the biggest platform in Australia. It is nearly 11.5 million users Australia-wide, and when you consider that the Australian population recently clicked over to 23 million, that's nearly half our population is on Facebook. And you've also got to take into account that Facebook is only meant to be for people above 13 years of age. We know there's a few that sneak in under there, but that means that population and that saturation is even higher of the adult population, which is who's going to be buying your products and services. YouTube is the second most popular social media platform with 11 million users every month, and that number's been steady for quite a while. So YouTube, for those that don't know, is a video sharing platform. The third, fourth and fifth spots are taken up by all blogging platforms. So Blogspot, WordPress and Tumblr are all blogging platforms. And a lot of these are not only being used as for blogs now, but also as a basis for building websites. So they're close to 3 million each. Even put the three of those together, Facebook is still, right up there. Coming in at number 6 is LinkedIn, and for those not familiar with LinkedIn, LinkedIn is like a professionals version of Facebook. So it's for business-to-business connections and for professional services. So if you're you're selling jewellery at a market store, it's probably not at the markets predominantly. LinkedIn's probably not the right place for you to be. But if you are trying to sell graphic design to other businesses, then LinkedIn might be a good place for you. In at number 7 is Twitter, and for those that are not familiar, Twitter is a micro-blogging platform where you have 140 characters only to try and tell people your message or to direct them to a longer version of your message somewhere else. So 140 characters is pretty tight, and usually you might use that to send them to your website or send them to your blog or send them to your Facebook page where you're sharing a fuller story that's more than that 140 characters. Number 8 is Instagram, and Instagram is growing more popular with the younger population. It's a photo sharing site. Facebook acquired it a while back, but again, 1 million users Australia-wide. Number 9, Flickr is also photo sharing, close to 900,000. And TripAdvisor is the big mover in Australia. If you looked at the statistics from January this year, TripAdvisor wasn't even in the top 20. So for those not familiar with TripAdvisor, it's a hotel and restaurant and tourism attraction review website where you can go and write reviews on hotels where you've stayed. If you're ever travelling, it's a really good site to do research beforehand. You'll see people's photos that have been there and actually stayed there, not just the glossy photos of the penthouse that the hotel may choose to show you on their website. So if you are doing holiday research, I can recommend TripAdvisor, most definitely. And Pinterest. So Pinterest is, I guess, the new kid on the block, only having been around for 2 years now. Look, 630,000 users Australia-wide. It's not a number to be sneezed at, but when you look at it in comparison to Facebook, where there's 11.5 million users, you can see that there's quite a difference. So Pinterest, for those that aren't aware, it's a virtual pin board. So if you think back to your days when you're a teenager in your bedroom and you had your corkboard up on your wall and you had your favourite band up there, photos of your favourite friends, your favourite nights out, Pinterest is an online place where you can pin pictures and categorise them. So it's predominantly used by females and it's only good if you're selling visual products, but we'll talk more about that later. So as I said, those statistics are all from Social Media News, and if you are selling overseas and you want to know which platform is bigger in your target country other than Australia, I recommend that you have a look at their statistics because they're updated monthly and broken down by country. Okay, so now that we know how many people there are that to potentially be talking to or connecting with on social media, we want to talk about point number 1, which is knowing your target market. And this is the same for online and offline marketing. It's not specific to social media, but it's even more important, I guess, on social media in that you have to work out who you need to target before we know where we can target them. So the best way that I think to do that is to build an ideal client profile. What gender are they, how old are they, how much do they earn, and potentially where do they live. Build a profile of what they look like, and you may have more than one ideal client profile with your business. So say you're a hairdresser, one of your target markets might be mothers of small children because you've got the nice little red car that sits there that they cut the hair in, it keeps the children quiet. Your other target audience might be wedding parties because you've got a specialty in updos and wedding hair. Another target market or another ideal client might be women who have a lot of disposable income and can afford to get their hair done every couple of weeks. And you might also be targeting maybe that 18 to 30 metro young guy that really cares about his hair as well. So it's quite potential that you would have more than one ideal client in your business, but you need to build a profile for each of them. Once you've worked out who they are and what they look like, then it's really much, much easier to work out where they hang out online. So that might be on Facebook, it might be on Twitter, it might be on LinkedIn, it could be on Pinterest, or it could be on Instagram, depending on who you're targeting. So as we said earlier, Facebook has 11.5 million users in Australia, and it's also the largest platform worldwide. But if you were trying to target people in China, Facebook's not going to be any good for you because it's been blocked since July 2009. So you really need to take that into account when you're looking at overseas markets. It's not only Australia and different countries that have different, demographics of users. You need to look state by state. So, for example, in New South Wales, 30% of social media users use Twitter. But if you're looking at those figures in the Northern Territory, it's only 3%. So if I was trying to target people to buy my products in the Northern Territory, Twitter would probably not be the place that I was going to be. LinkedIn, for example, is 30% of social media users in New South Wales use LinkedIn, yet only 9% in Western Australia use it. So that could be a really good potential market for you, even though there's less people on there. You probably get a really strong lead because it is more targeted to that business-to-business connection. As far as what people research when they're on social media, because people aren't just going to Google anymore looking up, looking at products and services, they're going to social media and looking for recommendations from their families and friends, because it's always much easier to say yes to a product or service if it's been recommended by a friend. So that's where people are going these days, looking for products and services. And the number one thing that they're looking up and doing research on is clothing and fashion. So if any of you selling clothing and fashion, you should be really happy because there's great opportunities for you with social media. Electrical goods comes in at number 2. Computers and hardware come in at number 3, and consumer and beauty products come in at number 4. So look, if you're in those industries, then it's a no-brainer, and it doesn't mean that if you're not, that there's not an opportunity. I think for probably 98% of businesses, I can see an opportunity on social media. It's just not the same opportunity for every business. And I guess that's something that we really need to be strong about, is that there is no one-stop shop, one-size-fits-all approach for businesses. It's going to be dependent on your personality, it's going to be dependent on your target audience, it's going to be dependent on where you are and who you're selling to. Then the other thing, once you've worked out who your clients are, where we might find them online, then you've got to work out when they're online, because people are online at different times of the day. So if we look at the broader statistics, 53% of people are online after work or in the evening, while only 22% of people are on social media in their lunchtime. And given the fact that, say, on Facebook, most of your likes and comments and sharing on a Facebook post happens within that first hour after you've posted something, if you're posting in the morning and no one's on there, then you can't expect to get the same level of engagement that you're going to get if you're posting at the time when your audience is there. That said, in Facebook pages that I've managed before, we've looked at doing multiple times so that you're targeting your early birds and your night owls and the people that are grabbing on at lunchtime, and that 22% because you don't want to miss them either. If you're selling business to business, as we said, LinkedIn could be a good opportunity. And Pinterest, if you've got visual products that are predominantly bought by female, because there's 70% of the users on Pinterest are female. So if you're trying to sell to that male audience, it might not be the first point of view that I would go to. Okay, so once we've worked out who we're selling to and who we're connecting to, not necessarily selling to, who we're connecting to, and when we're connecting and where we're connecting, then you've got to come up with the content, because content really is king on social media. You can talk to people till the cows come home, you can share content till the cow comes home, but unless it's things that your audience is engaged in and wants to know more about, you're not going to get anywhere. And so as a small business owner, you need to think not necessarily what do I want to share with an audience, it's what does my audience want to hear or know more about. And that can be a really tricky thing for people, because we're trying to get across our messaging rather than appealing to the people we're trying to contact. So we have to know what to post, and then we have to know how often to post, and that's quite often a question that comes up during social media training. How often do I have to be posting? And that's a real balancing act, and again, there is no one perfect answer. What I would say is you need to be aware that if you are not posting often enough, you're not going to get that cut through that you need, because social media is so ingrained in our lives and people are connected to so many brands and so many businesses and so many friends and family, that if you're not posting very often on social media, they're not going to see your content. And if you post too often, you run the risk of monopolising their social media space, and then they unlike you or unfollow you, and that's not going to help you either. So it comes back to who you're targeting and what they want to see. And it needs to be varied. So it doesn't matter which platform you're on. I would still say the content that you need to share, you can't just put all photos or all videos or all comments. I would try and mix it up because different people are, attracted to different things. So if we look at Facebook as an example, the most common content that's shared on Facebook is links to other people's websites. So whether that's a link to your own website because you're selling something that's on your website, or whether it's a link to an article that you found and you're saying to someone, hey, I found this really great article, I think you should read it. What happens is it's also the easiest post to do if you're feeling lazy and you can't think of anything else. You find something that someone else has got up, you go, oh great, I don't have to write anything today. And people put that on there, which is all well and good, except what it does is people click that link and suddenly they're not on your social media platform anymore, they're off where you've sent them to. And although they might like the content that's there, it's very rare that they'll then come back and say, oh, that was great content, or, oh, thanks very much, I really like that, or anything else. So it's an easy content to put up, but it's not going to give you a lot of customer engagement. Whereas video is, again, if we talk Facebook for this example, video is the 6th most common thing that's posted on Facebook, yet it has the 3rd highest level of engagement. So the old story, picture's worth 1,000 words. I guess what is video worth? And in this case, it seems to be worth quite a lot more. And it doesn't have to be high quality video. You don't need to go and have, a great setup like we've got here tonight at the University of Western Sydney. It can be something that you're doing on your smartphone. As long as you've got a steady hand or a friend who's going to take it for you. There's so many tools out there that you can edit it quickly and easily. And, a less than 3-minute video on your smartphone is absolutely fine to be sharing on social media. Yes, you can sell on social media, absolutely. A lot of people have e-commerce stores on social media. They don't have an e-commerce website. They'll have a store straight on their social media platforms. If you're not directly selling your products and services there, though, my suggestion would be that you limit the amount of times you even soft sell your products or services. Because if all you're doing is telling them what's for sale, telling them what's coming up, telling them what to book into, telling them to buy this product, here's our new product, suddenly you become an advertisement, not a person that they're engaging with and having a conversation with. And as anyone that tapes shows on Foxtel or wherever on pay TV, what happens when we come to the ads? We fast forward, and that's what your social media will become if you don't share good content. If it becomes an ad, people will disengage with you really quickly. Don't be afraid to share your content across multiple platforms. So you may have a video that's been sitting on your YouTube account that you're also going to integrate into your website, and you can do a shout out for that on your Facebook page at a different time, and you might tweet a link to it at a different time as well. I probably don't recommend, if we're talking in general terms, sharing the same content across different platforms all at the same time. Because if I follow you on Facebook and I follow you on LinkedIn and I follow you on Twitter, and you automatically set it to be updated on all 3, I'm going to get bombarded with the same message 3 times. And so for me, I would then most likely unfollow you or unlike you on one of those platforms because I know I'm going to pick up the message on another one. So yes, you can share your content across the platforms, but I'd probably recommend doing it at different times. Okay, with your content, doesn't hurt to have a sense of humour, and you do need to be genuine and real. So this is actually a post that was on the Home Biz Connect Facebook page. I welcome you all to follow that page. We share a lot of business tips and information there. And I'll read it for those that may not be able to see the text. So it says, okay, so technically this is not a business-related post, but it's serious business if you're from New South Wales or Queensland. Who are you supporting in tonight's State of Origin game? No prizes for guessing who our social media manager is backing. And keep calm and smash Queensland was the post. Now that post got shared 13 times, even though it was on a business page and it was nothing to do related with business. We used a bit of humour. It was topical because it was on the day that State of Origin 1 was on, and also because a lot of the people on our Facebook page have either met me at events or have met me in person at training. They know I'm footy mad, so it makes sense and it's real. And I guess that's what social media is about. It's about keeping it real and you're humanising it. So that post got actually shared more than anything else that we'd put on our Facebook page in 5 months, which is, it means that people have a sense of humour. Now, that said, there's also a bit of background to it in that because I look at our Facebook Insights, which is the feedback that Facebook gives you, I know that a majority of our followers are from Queensland or New South Wales. If the majority of our audience was Tasmania and Western Australia, this post wouldn't have been as successful as it was. So it wasn't a throw it out there. There was actually some thought behind it, even though it's just a comical and topical post. The other great thing about social media is that other people are doing your marketing for you 24 hours a day. So if you have a website, I strongly recommend that you have social media sharing buttons on as many pages of your website as you can. That way, if someone comes across a picture of your product or someone comes across your article or someone comes across a description of something you're selling, they want to share it with a family member or a friend, you're making it really easy for them to do that. And social media lets them do that as well. So I'm just, again, using the Home Biz Connect Facebook page as an example because I can look at the insights and share those with you. At the time that I took this data, we had 600 or so likers on our Facebook page. Yet, and it may be a little bit difficult to see with those figures, in this particular week, nearly 24,000 people, individual people, saw messages from our Facebook page. 600 likers, 24,000 saw the messaging because of the number of friends or the number of connections that each person that likes our page had. So, we were consistently between 20 and 30,000 people every single week seeing your message. And that's what you need to stop and consider. What type of advertising or what type of marketing could you be doing? How much is it going to cost you? And are you going to get the reach of that many people each week? And then weigh up the return on investment, because it may be that some of the traditional offline marketing works better for your business, or it may be that social media works better for your business. A few more statistics for those that like the numbers. The average 20 to 29-year-old has 366 connections on social media. So if you can just engage one of those 20 to 29-year-olds, you can potentially reach 366 of their friends. For the 30 to 39-year-olds, they've got 200 connections. For the 40 to 49-year-olds, there's 250. And as we go up, the 50 to 64 have got 146 connections each. And the 65 plus drops down dramatically to 48 connections there. So your message will be slower getting out as those numbers decrease. Overall, women in general have 221 connections and the men have got slightly more with 304. So all you need to do is engage the right people on your social media, and then when they're engaged and they're sharing your content, that's how you're going to build your audience, because we tend to like what our friends and family and people like as well. So I've just broken the number one dinner party rule, which is, don't talk about sex or religion or politics with this photo. So friends request from Jesus, you've got the choice to confirm or ignore, but a little bit tongue-in-cheek talking about connections and who your business should connect to. So if your business is on social media, as I said earlier, it's conversational. Pretend you're out at a barbecue or a dinner party with the people that you want to talk to on social media. You can't talk at them the whole time. You want them to be talking back and engaging and asking questions and sharing content and really just having a two-way conversation. So for you to have a two-way conversation, you need to be connected to other people on social media, and quite often people don't know who they should be connected with. So if I've got my small business owner's hat on, the people that I would want to connect with on social media, definitely any of my suppliers. And if you're wholesaling, you'd want to be absolutely connected to the people that are on selling your product. And look for local or niche circles or parties of influence. So if you're trying to sell in a particular geographic area, who's the big players in social media in that area? Is it your local council? Is it the local school? Is it the local Rotary? Who is it that in that area has the most social media following? Look for industry-specific people. So if you're in the food industry, you'd want to be following the top food bloggers. If you're in the fashion industry, who are the top fashion bloggers that you'd want to follow? And also, especially important for a lot of businesses, is what government bodies do you need to be connected to? In the not-for-profit sector, I would definitely be following whichever government bodies either are or potentially could be offering you money as far as grants to offer your products and services. And the Australian government in general, a lot of the peak bodies now have really good social media followings, and you can get a lot of great information there. Plus, you know it's coming straight from the source. If you have clients that are on social media for their own business, I definitely follow them. It's your way of saying thank you for being a client. What I wouldn't do is follow my competition publicly anyway. Because when you're following someone on social media, it's like a soft endorsement. So if I wanted to follow my competition to see what they were doing, I would be a little bit more stealth about it, and I would probably do it from a different account that had no connection to my business. And there's nothing wrong with doing market research on your competitors that way. All right, some of the benefits of social media marketing and what they can do for your business. And social media advertising can be really highly effective, and you can be extremely highly targeted if you know what you're doing. There is a bit of a skill to it and a bit of technical knowledge that you need to get. We've got a client, Hens Treasure Hunts, who wants to be able to target people for Hens Days. So she can do Facebook ads where she can target people, women that are of a certain age group, within a certain amount of kilometres within her business where she offers the parties, who have changed their Facebook status within the last 6 months or within the last year to engaged, which is her target audience. And you can do the same thing for your business. Again, with LinkedIn advertising, you can target that to people of specific industries only to see it, or even for your ad only to be seen by people that work at a particular company. So if you're having trouble getting your product and service past the gatekeeper at a particular company, you might want to do a LinkedIn ad that only people at that company see, and then hopefully it's the marketing manager or the general manager or the operational manager in that business that sees your ad, and that might be your way in. The beauty of social media marketing is that you can be changing it and looking at it the whole time. And if it's the first time you've done it, you'll definitely need to have a little bit of trial and error. As I said, I would be more targeted rather than trying to be general. I think a targeted market is always, whether it's offline or online marketing, is always going to have a stronger return on investment for you. But stop and look at what you are getting out of it. So you might say, I'm going to spend $10 a day on this for the next week, and I'm going to see how I go. The beauty of a lot of these platforms on social media is that you can get statistical feedback straight away around what's working and what's not working. So if you've got an ad that's doing absolutely nothing, there's nothing stopping you changing that in real time and trying a different approach. Excuse me. You can target people by the geographical area they live in, by their sexual preference, by their marital status, by their interests. So again, it comes back to what we talked about at the start of the presentation, which is who is your ideal client, and building that ideal client profile, then you'll know how to target them with advertising. And it doesn't have to cost you a whole lot, I can absolutely guarantee that. Okay. So before we move on to the Q&A session, I guess there's a few other top tips that I'd want to share with you. And the first one would be you don't have to spend money on social media, but you will have to spend time, and time does equal money. So look at how long it's going to take you. Look at upskilling yourself, get some education, get some training around how best to use it. Yes, you might be able to work it out by Googling how do I do this, or going on YouTube and watching a video of how you set up a Twitter profile or a LinkedIn company page. Make sure you're getting your information from good sources. The best, I guess, source or the go-to place for the social media platforms should always be the help functionality within that particular platform. That way you know you're getting the message straight from the company's mouth. I had an example where a client was converting a Facebook profile that was meant to be a company page, and they'd accidentally set it up as a profile. They Googled how do I convert a profile to a page, and landed on some website that gave instructions. Unfortunately, that website and those instructions were about 12 months old. They didn't go straight to Facebook help, and those instructions missed one crucial step, which then meant that all the data they had on their profile was completely lost. So that's why I always say go to the horse's mouth, go to the help functionality on any of the platforms you're looking at, absolutely for the first lot of information that you need. Choose which platform you want to be on, given that you now know who you want to target and and finding out where those people are going to be. And don't try and launch into 5 different social media platforms at once. Pick one, whichever one's going to give you the biggest bang for buck or potentially biggest bang for buck, and spend your time and energy there to start with. And because it's not going to happen overnight. Yes, you can build a page today, or you can build a profile on LinkedIn today, but you're not going to automatically have an audience. You're not automatically going to have engagement. So it needs nurturing. It's like a young child. The younger they are, the more hands-on you need to be. Once you've built up your audience and once you've shared a lot of great content and your platforms are starting to grow more organically, then you can step away a little bit and maybe look at a second platform that you might like to go into. Test what you're doing, measure your results, tweak what you're doing, and then redo again, because no one's going to do it perfectly the first time. And for a lot of us, there is no perfect. It is a little bit of trial and error. Yes, you're having an educated guess on a lot of things that you're doing, but have a look at the feedback that all the social media platforms give you and see what's working well and what's not working well. Even if you're wanting to look at things like your Google Analytics from your website and see how many leads have come from your social media platform straight to your website, that would be something that you'd want to measure. Always get your answers to your questions from reputable sources, and enjoy it, have fun with it. It is lighthearted, it is social. Yes, it can have some really positive outcomes for your business in far as increasing brand awareness and increased sales and all the things that you want it to be able to do as a marketing mechanism, but also don't take yourself too seriously. It is called social media for a reason, so you can have some fun with it as well. So thank you for allowing me to spend some time with you tonight. I'm looking forward, as I said, to being part of the panel now and answering your questions as we go. Thank you.
Thank you, Lara, for that great presentation and covering all of that material, the insights you've offered to us all. Let me remind you again, the hashtag is SmallBizFutures. And can I remind you or ask you to send in your questions. There's been a lot of chatter about quality of reception and issues of how you're receiving it. And a few questions have come from, but now we've got the chance over the next 3/4 of an hour for you to get the answer to your specific questions. Thank you to everybody who is joining us tonight through the BC network. With us tonight, we have, in addition to Lara, 2 other experts. On my far left, we have Sham Edirawira, Director of Compliance Strategies Branch at the ACCC, Legal Compliance Section. Shama has a particular interest in issues regarding to consumer law, the sort of problems that you can run into, legal problems you can run into in using social media. Next to me is Michael Todd, Business Advisor of Penrith Valley Business Enterprise Centre. And in talking before this session began, he told me most of his work these days involves addressing the challenges of social media. And on my right, as you've seen before, Lara Kilburn. Let me lead off with a question for you, Michael, that has come in, and it's one that I think reflects a lot of pressured small business people. I quote, "How do I run my business if I'm spending all my time on social media?"
Yeah, interesting question. It's a huge thing. Lara covered a lot of it just then, which is basically, look, you can only go where the people are. Using those statistics that we just saw as an example, Facebook's got half our population in Australia. Now, you got to go where the people are. People say Pinterest is so important at the moment. We've just seen they've got about 800,000 people in Australia. Facebook, you can post photos. You can do a lot of the stuff you do on Pinterest on Facebook. I'd be, for a person like that, if you're spending all your time on social media, you must be using a few different platforms. Otherwise, if you're just using Facebook, you're using too much time on it. What I'd say is find where your market is, as Lara said, and make sure you go where the people are. Facebook's the king at the moment with 12.5 million. LinkedIn's the other one, of course, where, look, we mentioned there's 2.3 million on LinkedIn. Now, we only have a professional workforce in Australia of about 5.5 million, so I'd say half our professional network is on LinkedIn. So I find that very important as well. So I'd encourage you to have a look at the statistics and go to socialmediaused.com.au, because I use that a lot with my clients, and just make sure you know the statistics of the people, because you may be putting a lot of emphasis on Pinterest or Instagram, but the people are somewhere else. So just make sure you get that strategy right.
Thanks, Michael. Sham, a number of questions have come in dealing with issues. Can I ask, more legal perspectives, can I ask for your advice on what sort of things do small businesses need to be careful about when making presentations on social media?
Thanks, Ron. I think the key thing from the consumer law perspective is that businesses are making truthful and accurate representations when undertaking their marketing and promotional activities. The key thing is that they make truthful and accurate statements about their products and services, and also that they avoid or they minimise the risk that they may be making false or misleading and deceptive claims. The consumer law rules that apply to advertising generally, like print, television and radio, also apply to social media. So while it is a great informal device to communicate, we're very much encouraging and urging businesses to be mindful and careful about the representations they're making. And if they are unsure about the accuracy or unsure about the representations, it's important that they seek legal advice or get some advice about the type of content and things that they're saying on their social media pages. Importantly, businesses must be able to substantiate the claims that they're making as well. So there's a few other things that I might canvas as we
A specific one that I'll ask you to follow up on, though, I mean, given the highly interactive nature of social media, where all sorts of people are putting material on your site or you're linking with other sites, to what extent are businesses accountable for posts from other people, from third-party posts, or from comments made by other people, or things that are happening? We see in the press and reports of issues regularly where responsibility doesn't appear to be entirely clear.
No, that's a great question, Ron. And the reality is that businesses can be held accountable for the postings of third parties if they turn out to be misleading and deceptive. In 2011, the federal court ruled that a business was accountable for the postings of a third party that were misleading and deceptive. So it does give some complexity to, I guess, trying to kind of, engage and have a dialogue. But there's also the something that Lara and Michael touched on, the need for businesses to be monitoring their media. And if there's some doubt as to the veracity of the postings or the comments, particularly when you've got a situation where the posting might be talking about a competitor's product, it's very important that they ensure that that they're comfortable with the comments and that they're accurate and not misleading.
Thanks, Sham. Laura, in your presentation, one thing that struck me very strongly in your analysis of how it worked was the key role of friends. Mm-hmm. The friends being the access to the much larger audience that you want to reach. Mm-hmm. So if friends are so important, how do you get friends?
Okay, so it's not actually you as the business getting friends, it's your clients or potential clients that have friends. And that's using a Facebook analogy. On Twitter, obviously, it would be likers, and on LinkedIn, it would be connections. So when we're using the term friends, we're just talking about connections on social media, not necessarily the correct terminology. So what businesses are hoping to do is that we tend to buy and tend to like things that our family and friends like. So if my friend likes a particular restaurant on Facebook, that would come up in my news feed as so-and-so recommended this restaurant, or so-and-so has been to this restaurant, or so-and-so likes that restaurant. And I, being, human nature being what it is, we're quite inquisitive, and I'm quite likely to click on that and have a look and see what my friends and family have been doing. And if it's someone that I know, then I think, oh yeah, they've got good taste in food. If they like that restaurant, I'll probably like that restaurant as well. And so then what the business owner would want me to do is to like their Facebook page, and I've purely done that on the recommendation of one of my friends. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Michael?
Just on that, Ron, when starting an actual social media account, make sure you don't discount the effect that your friends can have in building that page from ground up, because anyone will start off a business page and you've got 0 likers. what you want to do is you want to utilise the people that believe in you the most, which is your friends and family that you've got attached to your personal account on Facebook or even LinkedIn as well. And share your business page to them first. They're going to be the ones that are going to share the page with their friends. They're going to interact with your posts more often because they're trying to support you. So don't discount the friends.
Thanks. We're having a number of questions coming in about the issue of using Facebook ads or paying for posts to be promoted on Facebook. Lara?
Yeah, look, I think there's definitely good use of them. I would be very targeted in how I did it. Otherwise, you could blow out a budget, and someone has commented that they didn't have a good experience with it, and they spent a hell of a lot of money. What I'd recommend there is it probably may not have been as targeted as it needed to be. So if you might use promoting stories on Facebook, rather than promoting it straight from the promote post button on your actual Facebook page, I would go in through the ads manager or through your power editor and promote the posts that way to particular people that you want to see that post, not just to everyone on your page. So say, for example, if we're running an event in Darwin, there's no use me paying to promote that post so that people in Melbourne and Sydney and Adelaide are seeing that. That's just going to annoy them and become white noise. So I would promote that so only people in Darwin saw that particular post. The other thing that can be good about Facebook advertising is you don't have to be sending them to your Facebook page. You can be sending them straight to your website or straight to an external URL, which would usually be your website. And it comes back to general marketing. You need to be asking, finding the pain that they've got and being the solution to that. And it's a very small amount of text that you have to fit in that ad, so you need to be creative about how you do that. We see so many marketing messages on all platforms, every day. So you need to make it stand out in the crowd. So that's where using good images and using the right words in those advertising will give you a far better return on investment than some people might get.
Thank you. Also from our audience, we have questions about a specific target market. We were given by Laura the data by age demographics. If, as many businesses are, targeting the ageing population, which is a growing and a very important market, but the evidence is they are less frequent users of social media. What are the most effective ways to get to them? Michael, do you have any experience?
Are you on Facebook, Ron?
Yes.
You are?
Yes.
That's good.
He's only 21, it's okay.
I think there was...
And Twitter.
There you go. There's the market there. It's
And
ever
LinkedIn.
increasing. With those stats with Lara, you saw Facebook's grown again. It's constantly growing. The thing about it growing is all age groups usage is growing. It's not any one age group. Obviously, you've got your 18 to around about 40, 45. They're the majority of the 12.5 million. But the baby boomers usage is growing as well. In terms of target market, they're all using it in my eyes. We're talking 12.5 million, half of our population. It's huge numbers. If you're going to advertise in a Metro newspaper, look, I don't know, I'm not privy to the actual stats there on how many people read those, but the fact that let's say, Lara, you may be able to help me with social media news. 65 to 100, I think it's around about 4 or 5% of the 12.5 million.
Yeah,
Quick numbers would say there is a lot of those using it. So look, even for the older age group, I wouldn't discount Facebook once again, Ron.
Okay.
Yeah. And you're using
Nor
it.
I.
And you're
Nor
using
I.
it, so that's
Nor
enough
I.
there.
So yes, but clearly the content would be directed towards that.
Yeah, and I think if it's the same question, that person was talking about the travel industry specifically. So don't just look at who your target market is, look at where are people that want your industry going to be. And so, looking at sharing content from TripAdvisor across to your Facebook page and things like that. But definitely, I think there's still a lot of potential for Facebook with that older market. The only market that's actually decreasing on Facebook is 13 to 15-year-olds because it's not cool anymore because all us oldies are there. So they've all gone to Instagram. So if that's who's buying your product, probably go across to Instagram. Otherwise, you're all good.
Okay. A common experience, and seeing as Michael's challenged me, I've been there myself, is when you're starting off in this area, you seem to be sitting all alone with your computer, writing all this wonderful stuff, and nothing's coming back. You're in a vacuum. You don't know if anybody's interested in, and the fact that 3 people have looked at it and one is the neighbour's dog doesn't give you much confidence.
Sure.
What is the secret for getting through this startup phase? Who'd like to start? Michael?
I'll put a couple of points in. Persistence, one. First month is very discouraging for a Facebook page, as Lara would know with the clients she works with. You can constantly post and post and post, and you won't get many interactions. You won't get many likes, many shares, many comments on your page, because obviously interaction is king at the moment. You've got to persist with it. Persisting is the biggest thing. Look, of course, I've mentioned there friends and family is the big thing, but look, yes, you're right. You're going to get your friends and
2 years? 3
well,
months?
it's so strange. I've seen a page just recently that's grown to 1,000 in the space of a week, and it's simply just advertising jobs online. And look, it surprises you. It really does. But it's just look, it's different with all businesses. But if you found a niche, like Lara said, with your target market, if you're hitting your market right there, no matter what age group, you're going to get the people liking your post if you're putting up the right stuff. And funnily enough, that what we saw on the slides there, which was the New South Wales post, we have similar experiences at the BEC. We'll put up, like let's say on Anzac Day, we'll remember them on the post. That'll get the more interactions than one of my columns will that I've written in the local paper. Whether that be my expertise or not, I don't know. But it just goes to show, if you can just keep an eye on your posts and insights. The beauty of Facebook is where you put a newspaper ad in the paper, you don't get an ongoing counter on how many people have seen that post. But when you put a Facebook post in, you can see how many people are viewing that post, how many people are interacting it. Keep an eye on that. That's the biggest one that'll tell you.
Okay. Yeah. Lara, have you got views on getting through that?
Oh, look, it is.
The startup
as I
phase.
said, it is like having a small child. It's going to take more time, more money, more energy to start with. You might want to use a combination of connecting with people you know, but one of the steps that I think people crucially miss out is going and connecting with people that they would want to connect back with them. And not just connecting by pressing the like button or pressing the follow button, actually having a genuine interest in what those people are putting on their social media platforms. So it's all well and good to go and like people or follow people that you want to interact with or connect with them. But if you don't ever talk back or comment on their posts or like their posts or share their stuff or retweet what they've got to say, it's not a genuine relationship, and that's what you're looking for, is having a genuine relationship. You go to a dinner party or you go to a party and you shake someone's hand and you say hello, it's very rare that they would turn their back on you and walk away. So the more you're engaging other people, it's just natural instinct that they will come and engage back with you. So I would spend just as much energy, if not more, on other people's pages and other people's accounts as I'm spending on my own in those early days.
Thanks. And a reminder, in response to a question, the hashtag is smallbiz, B-I-Z, futures, one word. Sharma, I think we may need your advice on this, and a question from Thabarton. What do you have to be aware of when it comes to postings about payments and other sort of normal business transactional practices in social media?
Ron, my kind of experience is more with consumer law rather than disclosure of financial type information. But I think just from a kind of a privacy issue, I guess there's just some concerns about the level of disclosure about things like credit card information and security and just how you can ensure that if you're transacting with your clients through that kind of social media mechanism, that you have some secure processes in place. So, but Lara might have some additional comments
Look,
on that.
and Michael will as well. I think, as I said, depending on your business, you may just be there to build your brand and occasionally push traffic to your website or to set yourself up as a subject matter expert. But some people actually do set up their social media platforms as e-commerce platforms. And some people do it really well and some people do it really poorly. I've seen Facebook pages where people are selling, fashion, and it's working for them, but I don't think it's the best method. They'll just put a photo up of the product or service that they're selling and they'll say, comment sold underneath it. And then when someone says it's sold, they say, okay, now can you email me your contact details? And they take the conversation offline and they have to then invoice them. The amount of time and admin time that you would spend doing e-commerce like that seems crazy to me, when you can buy a really good Facebook e-commerce app for not very much money that's going to make you look far more professional. And I wouldn't feel really secure giving credit card details necessarily that way, to come back to what the question was. Whereas if I had a nice app that looked, for all intentional purposes, like an e-commerce website, and I could see that it was secure payment, as a consumer, I would feel far more likely to engage with someone selling that way.
And that could be where your links example is. Lots of links from Facebook. That's because Facebook don't offer a huge amount of e-commerce solutions on their pages as generically. So it takes that technical expertise to put an e-commerce solution into your Facebook page. So maybe people are just sort of shortchanging it and just putting the link to their e-commerce site, whether that be Etsy or eBay or their own website if they've gone to that stage. So yeah, but Facebook, it's a tough beast at the moment because it's not really used e-commerce, way.
I mean, there is some really good apps out there, but it's about finding which one's going to be right for you because there's so million. I mean, today's the 5th birthday of the app on iTunes and everything else, and I don't know how long Facebook apps have been around off the top of my head, but I know when I'm looking for apps with clients, there's so many of them out there. So again, I would suggest going back to trusted sources, when you're using Google to do your research, if you haven't got a trusted advisor that you can go to, you might Google what is the best e-commerce app for Facebook, or what is the best whatever it is you're looking for. Look at who's actually answering those questions. If you end up on Yahoo Answers with 4 people giving you answers that are 2 years old, it's probably not the best advice you're going to get. Go to things like Mashable and Social Media News and HubSpot and other good websites that are going to be giving you relevant, up-to-date, recent data. Or go to your local BC, see if they've got someone that can assist you with it as well.
Thanks. And I should mention, Lara, you have permission to kick me under the table, apparently, for my mangling of your name. I do apologise. Oh. A recurring question. How much is enough and when is it too much? What is the fine line between reaching an audience and suddenly being regarded as a spammer? How do you manage this pursuit without having it return and attack you, act back upon you?
Do we answer that in terms of posts? Yeah. Outbound from a business page, is that what we're talking about?
Yes,
yeah, very interesting. Depends on your type of brand. If it's like Twitter, for example, Facebook, if we're talking NRL, State of Origin, throughout the game, you're posting every minute if you can, updates. Business, hairdresser. Well, some people don't. They just feel like it's great to get those interactions, and the more they tweet, the more people are going to follow it, and then they're going to get more followers. That's sort of how it works, which is unfortunate for the person posting, but that's what they want to do. But then you got a hairdresser, which is like I got a client in Penrith actually, and they asked the same question: how much is enough? And she'll put up a haircut. Of course, you've got to be careful of putting a face on and without a sign-off slip and all that type of thing, which you may go into in a sec. But how many haircuts is enough to put up? You know what I mean? And it's a hard thing. You've got to. The way I answer that is measure it by interactions. It's the biggest thing. If you've got lots of constant interactions on a lot of posts, people are enjoying seeing what you post up. If not, if you haven't got much and your number of fans or followers or connections on LinkedIn is declining, stop doing it. Do half of what you're doing. It should all be driven by the amount of interactions you're getting. If they're constantly growing, then keep doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got that instant feedback by looking at your statistics. So if you're looking at Facebook, go to your insights section, and if suddenly you've got 10 unlikes on one day, I'd go back and have a look. Well, what did I actually do on that day? Did I maybe post more than I normally did, and saturate people, or did I post content that people weren't engaged in? Look at what's happening. Look at when you get peaks in new followers, and also look at peaks when you're losing people, and learn from those mistakes.
Is there a need to explain to the audience the element of Facebook that you just spoke about?
So the Facebook Insights section is where a page manager can get really good data on the demographics of people that are following them, the percentage of people that have interacted with each post that they've written. And I guess the magic number that you should be aiming for on Facebook, if you're talking about Facebook pages, you want to keep your talking about number, which is a number that sits next to the likes number on your page. You want to keep that over 30 at any time. That way you'll get the full suite of feedback from Facebook in that insights section. If you have less than 30 talking about on your page, then you're not going to get the full data. So you can get really good information on what cities are people are in that talking about you, how old are they, what gender are they, what pages or what parts of your Facebook page are they landing on and spending time on. So that looking at that data, looking at your unlikes, your how viral your messages have gone through, you know, the level of engagement, that's going to tell you what's working and what's not working, and also help you plan for future content. Because I guess that's one big tip that I probably should have covered is don't just jump on social media and go, oh gosh, you know, it's Wednesday, I'm meant to put something up and I don't have anything, and just whack something on there. You know, plan ahead. It's like the rest of your business. You don't just go, oh great, I'm going to do an advertising campaign in the local paper today because I haven't done anything in a while and there's no leads coming in. Plan for it beforehand. There's great scheduling tools so that you don't physically need to be, you know, you might sit down for 2 hours today and schedule the next 10 things that are going to come up on your social media for the next 10 days. And that's an opportunity that a lot of businesses aren't aware of yet.
Shyam, we've heard that, and we all know, that pictures and video are very powerful elements of these presentations. Are there issues that need to, as Michael briefly referred to, that need to be looked at in terms of using photographs of other people, videos of other people where no permission has been obtained? Does this raise an area of consumer law?
It could. It's not so much a consumer law issue, Ron, but it does raise more intellectual property issue in terms of you know, copyright and some of those aspects. So, with, you know, if there's no consent given to use of that information, that could cause some problems. So best if unsure, again, best to get some advice on whether they can use that. One thing that sort of neatly kind of ties into is the use of testimonials on social media, and that's an issue the ACCC has been prioritising because audiences are relying on, I read somewhere, Lara, that I think 71% of consumers look at testimonials and review websites when making their purchasing decision. So it's one of those things that the importance of those testimonials being accurate, and, you know, for example, if you've got a situation where a business has paid a celebrity to tweet that, you know, a resort owner says, pays a celebrity to tweet that they had a great time at the resort, but they hadn't actually been there. Obviously, that's misleading, and so there's a big concern that we have that you know, that those things about testimonials being accurate and true, and also you know, if there's fake reviews that are appearing. So there's we recently initiated action against the party for using for fake testimonials about a product that those people had never used. So it just touches on some of the concerns that we have about, while social media is a great platform, it's important that the representations be accurate and truthful.
Mm-hmm. A specific question, probably to you, Lara, from Jane. What do you think about running competitions on Pinterest?
Yes, competitions on social media, whether it be Pinterest or any other platform, can do you well. To be honest, Pinterest is probably not my strongest point out of all the platforms. So thank you, Jane, for choosing Pinterest to ask that question on. I can also tell you that it's probably one of the most commonly incorrectly done things that people do on social media. I know on Facebook it's definitely done incorrectly 98% of the time. And that would be where people say, you know, like this photo, or like and share this photo to go in the running to win XYZ. If you look at Facebook's terms and conditions for running a promotion, you can't use any of their standard functionality to do that. You actually need a third-party app to be running competition. And when I share that with people at training, they go, oh my God, but like everyone does that. And I go, yeah, everyone does do that, and everyone could have their Facebook page shut down potentially for running it that way. So I'm imagining Pinterest it would be the same. The first thing I would do if I was looking to run a competition on Pinterest would be to look at their terms and conditions for running a competition. Photo sharing competitions, whether it's, you know, on Pinterest or Facebook or wherever else you're doing it, can be really good because people like sharing what they've got to say, but they also like sharing their pictures as well. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it can be a great thing and can be a really nice way to build your audience. Just make sure you're following and being compliant with the terms and conditions first would be my strongest point.
And just to add, that's perfect answer. But most of those websites, most social media, which we mentioned in the stats, actually have their own case studies on there with the right ways to run competitions, etc., things like that. And you can also grab them off YouTube, which we've seen as the second biggest social media engine in Australia. So definitely use the websites too.
From Becca 213 2013, our prolific contributor. Is social media working better for products or services or other what kind of businesses is it working best for? Is it
Take some case studies with clients, for example. I think it's working well with all of them. Basically, I don't think there's any limit. It depends on the. It does depend. It does depend. It depends on how much time you've got to spend on it. It depends on the type of person using it. If they're very interactive type, and look through a computer screen, you can be more interactive. One person can be more interactive than another. But in terms of the right products, like Pinterest is, for example, I was reading today. Actually, I got it off the website on Pinterest. A case study. A hairdresser's on there, and this particular hairdresser, the boss of it, has each staff member has their own pin board, and they put up all their haircuts on there. Fantastic stuff. It gives you that. It gets you inside the organisation for clients and potential clients too. I can't endorse that enough. That type of thing when you're sort of and even our BEC, we try to involve all staff. When it's a birthday, we'll put up a picture of the cake that we got them. Like showing that we're real people. And I really think that works. Sort of connecting with your clients and letting them know everything about your organisation, because at the end of the day, a business is done, whether it's online or offline, on trust and building of relationships. So I really think there's no right or wrong product to go on there. Because I can have a bookkeeper on there that we've done quite well with in Penrith, and all they've put up is I've encouraged them to put up funny photos, satirical photos you find online about bookkeepers and accountants, jokes about accountants. If you can laugh at yourself, people are going to laugh at you as well, and I think that's so important, and that generates interaction, because they don't want to know what 2 + 2 is, although it's 5. No, I'm joking. But they want to know how personable you are, because about a bookkeeper or an accountant, you've got to build that relationship and trust. So if you can have a joke on yourself, it's so important.
I'd agree with Michael. I think definitely there's a place for service-based businesses on social media. I'm thinking of examples of clients. Definitely, we've got accountants that are doing, accountants, if you're going to stereotype them, the bean counter nerd that doesn't talk to anyone head down. By being on social media and being real, you're giving yourself a personality and giving yourself, a place to showcase that you are real and you are human. And so who am I going to go to get my tax done? Who am I going to go to set up my company structure? Who am I going to go to do my, my will or my conveyancing? I'm going to go to the service provider that I've got a relationship with online. And I think that's a really important point that you made there, Michael. It's about relationship building. It's not hard selling on social media. It's being top of mind, and it gives you an excuse to be in people's lounge rooms and people's bedrooms, pardon the pun, without feeling obtrusive. And so then when I need a service, not necessarily a product, because the question was around services, if I need a travel agent or I need an accountant or I need whatever service it is you're looking at, that person's going to come top of mind. No mortgage brokers, that are selling. You wouldn't go and get a mortgage every day. And for businesses that have a longer sales cycle, so if you're selling coffee, I can buy coffee from you every day and I'm in your shop, and it's really easy for you to stay top of mind because I'm in your shop every day. But if I'm, a real estate agent or a mortgage broker or someone that you're a car salesperson, where the life cycle and the sales cycle is so much longer than maybe you're only buying from them every 3, 4, 5, 6 years, to try and stay top of mind with someone for that long in between is a really difficult thing to do. And the fridge on the magnet on the fridge alone is not going to do it. Yeah.
Though some companies do manage to maintain that long, very long relationship. The emphasis has been on placing new material on social media, on having programs to do it, but there's concern arising, a number of questions emerging about how do you manage your archive? How do you manage your history? How do you manage the process of all the information that you put up previously? We are discovering that, of course, it never quite goes away. Even if you have pressed a delete button, it doesn't necessarily go away. What is good practice in managing your social media over a period of time?
I guess you use the way to do that. You can't. We're talking time again. You can't possibly go through everything you've placed on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn if you're constantly on social media. It'd be near impossible. You have to employ someone to do that for you. But in terms of using apps, and that type of thing, like the notes on Facebook, for example. If you're putting up articles on there, it's quite easy. If you're transferring all your articles and knowledge onto those certain apps on Facebook or Twitter or anything like that, it's so easy to keep up with them. Just visit them every now and then, upgrade the content, and then and it's a few simple changes. So look, I wouldn't advise to constantly scour, because you'll break your computer going down all your older posts. It's near impossible. But if you're using it right, but yeah, if you can control the things that people that are at view on the page, basically, which is apps and your profile on Twitter, your expertise on LinkedIn, things like that, constantly update those things, because they're the first thing that people see. But your post way down, it's very unlikely your fans will go all the way to the bottom of your pile.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. And Ben asked this question. He was worried about how far back should you go with your old comments and your old posts, and whether they're relevant anymore or not. And time is a thing that we are all poorest on. I can't imagine there'd be too many people that are going to scroll back through your timeline on Facebook and look at what you wrote on Facebook 3 years ago. You're lucky if you can get them to be looking at your most recent posts, let alone going back through your history. That said, there would be people that would do it, but it's also dated, and so they're going to see when that content was relevant at that time.
But as we've seen in a number of other news, you need to be aware that that information could be used against you by someone who has a particular want to do that. Sham, I think this might be one for you, and we're getting close to wrap-up time now. What's the law or a practice with regard to using social media for whistleblowing or identifying companies that haven't paid you? In other words, expressing your views about competitors, customers, others through social media.
Wow, that's a bit of a thorny one, Ron. Thanks, but there's a range of legal implications there from a consumer law perspective. Again, if you're making statements that might misrepresent the truth or are not accurate about your competitors, there's a risk of breaching the Australian consumer law there. But that question also touches on defamation issues as well, or the potential thereof. So there are, I think, risks associated, very significant risks associated with doing that kind of thing. I can't specifically, I guess, provide sort of further advice beyond just from the consumer law perspective.
Unless it's really warranted, just don't. Why put yourself in that position if you're going to slag off someone's brand? You've got to be dead on that's you're right. It's because things can go viral very quickly these days. So yeah.
From a client perspective, though, I've been a disgruntled customer before, and I would try every avenue of getting resolution. And this happened to me recently. You email the company. This company is a well-known company that I won't mention because we don't want to get in trouble. But they didn't have a phone number that you could ring their customer service team. So I just kept getting automated responses from their customer service, in inverted brackets, team. And after 2 months of no resolution, I had no choice but to go on their Facebook page and say, can I have a hand, resolving this problem? This is a joke. And they didn't even have their Facebook page set up in a way that people could message them privately. You had to write on their timeline, and they wouldn't even allow that. You had to write on it. The only way you could communicate with them was by answering something on another post they'd put up. So from a business perspective, I would say give people the opportunity to talk to you in private. Give them a phone number, give them an email. If it's on Facebook, put the message button on your Facebook page so they can message you. Otherwise, I would have done that as a consumer. I would have said, look, this is the problem, but I wouldn't have had to do it publicly because they didn't give me that avenue. I had to do it in the public forum and say to them, I need this resolved, and that was the only thing that got it fixed quickly.
And Sean, with that, could you give us the issue of third-party responsibility? Could you just work through a quick example?
Yeah, sure. Like, I might just provide some tips, Ron, just for time. But the key thing is if you have concerns about a post or some information that's been uploaded being misleading, to remove it as soon as you become aware of it. By leaving it on there, and if ultimately that posting is misleading, you can become liable for misleading and deceptive conduct. So it comes again back to something that Laura and Michael discussed about the resourcing and the time commitment to be able to monitor your pages to ensure that the content that's being uploaded isn't breaching, I guess, a range of laws, not just the Australian consumer law. But again, it's also about setting some house rules about the conduct or what your fans or followers are able to do and post on your site, and blocking consumers that might not follow those rules. So it's about trying to manage that. And I guess in terms of monitoring, that comes down to the size of the business and and the followers or fans that you have. Big businesses are well resourced, so we'd expect that they'd be able to remove posts that were misleading quite quickly as soon as they became aware of it. A small business that has a really big following or fan base, again, we'd have an expectation that they'd be regularly, monitoring their postings and that kind of thing. A smaller business that doesn't have as many followers, the resourcing and capability of that business to monitor would be lower than those other two cases.
Thank you. Well, I'm afraid we have to bring our discussion to an end. I know, indeed, you're telling me some of you have kids to feed and dogs to walk, so we better get on with it. A special thank you to Lara Kilborn for your great presentation. And of course to our panel members, Michael and Sham, for their insights, their perspectives and their readiness to respond to your questions. I hope you have found this useful, and of course the material will be posted on the website shortly. Thanks again to our sponsors, the Department of Industry, Innovation, Climate Change, Science Research and Tertiary Education, and our hosts for the evening, the University of Western Sydney and their remarkable production team for producing this event. And a big thanks to all of you for tuning in and participating. We'll see you for another Small Business Futures event at the same time next month, when we will be exploring managing risk in your business. And don't forget to like Home Biz Connect on Facebook. Good night.